Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Jumpgate podcast. I am your xeno-erotic host, Jesse Gender, and I am joined as always by...
It's Vera! That is an interesting choice of words because I didn't tell you about some of the stuff that I picked up at Rose City Comic Con.
Well, I was at the reason I bring it up, and I'll tell you the story quickly, I was at Dragon Con last weekend. So just for listeners, Vera and I haven't recorded in 2 weeks because I went to Dragon Con and then my brother's wedding 2 weeks ago, and then Vera was at Rose City Comic Con this past weekend. But at Dragon Con, which was the first time I ever went, I went to a panel about monster fucking. And they went through, like, the host went through, like, a bunch of different monsters and how they work and how they can fuck. My favorite one that they said was, this is Mothman. They love lamp. And you, which just got in my head. But wait, sorry. I went home, like I said, to my brother's wedding, and then afterwards, my family, my brother, my stepmom, my dad, my sister, and I were all sitting around the fire. And they're, like, very normal people. So I was explaining Dragon Con to them, and I was like, I just thought this Mothman thing was really funny. Like, I just thought, it stuck in my head because I thought it was hilarious. So I explained to them the monster fucking thing, and then told them that joke, and then just silence. Just absolute silence. They just stared at me, having no idea what the fuck I was talking about, and being very weirded out.
Damn normies. Here's what I really love about monster fuckers. I've never had a conversation about or with monster fuckers that wasn't shockingly wholesome in tone, if not content.
No, I get that. Well, because, like, I mean, I get the appeal. There's the Garrus from Mass Effect, you know? He's very wholesome. I would fuck Garrus. Very much so. He's a very sweet man. He was an ex-cop. He's working on it, you know? He went Batman.
Yeah. I am tempted. We'll see if I pull the trigger on this or not. I am tempted to steal an idea from another YouTuber and, like, ask, like, my Patreon supporters and the folks on my Discord for their hear me outs, and then I judge them and, like, rank them and, like, okay, here's the least to the most unhinged.
That's actually really fun. So I like that.
I would, and to be clear, folks, if I do this, I will openly acknowledge the YouTuber that I am yoinking this concept from, because I had a lot of fun with her videos and she deserves the credit.
Yes. What was the other thing too? I'm also getting traction. I won't spoil for you, but there is a monster fucking there. Let me put it this way: in the latest episode of Strange New Worlds, which is the best episode of the season, which is damning with faint praise, but there is definitely a shippable monster fucking moment in there that I am very much pushing. And I have found a Tumblr thread that is thankful for me. They're like, oh, thank you, Jesse Gender, for pushing this. And I'm like, great, I'm becoming a hero of the monster fucking Tumblr community. I'll take it.
Love it. Okay, so the reason I brought up Rose City was that I did my usual thing and spent more money than I should have. Because it's a con. That's what you're supposed to do.
Con!
Yeah. And, like, some of it, like, that there were just these really comfy trans pattern socks, and I just got those, and I got a whole bunch of stickers, commissioned a little bit of art. But the other thing that I let myself indulge in was there were quite a few of the people in Artist Alleys who had not safe for work and 18 plus zines for sale at their booths, and I picked up a few of those.
Fun.
Including one that was just explicitly monster fuckery. And it was, it was sci-fi, it was eldritch, it was horror. It was well done. It was good work.
All right. I get it. I think I'm becoming a monster fucker, Vera. I think that's what's happening.
we will have to compare hear me outs at some point. Because I am not especially unhinged on that scale. I've heard some bonkers shit.
Oh, I'm sure.
Or, like, let me... So...
she's deciding.
So, The person who and you know what? Let me find the name of the YouTuber since I'm like referencing her so much. The person who I might yoink this idea from, she's done it twice. The first time she did it, she had like 5 categories and 5 rankings, with one being "This is not a hear me out," and then escalating from there. But when she did it the second time, she had to add a 6th category. Conlusa is the name, so that's KHANLUSA. Does video game related stuff, mostly horror video games. I like her stuff. I found it like a month or 2 ago. But anyway, the second time she did it, she had to add an extra 6th category on the far extreme end, because there was one hear me out she got that she could not deal with. And it was Am from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Oh, God.
Yeah!
How? Why?
Exactly!
That's really fucked up. On many levels. Jesus Christ.
I will not... Listeners, if you don't know, I will not be explaining that one to you today.
Yeah. Great story. You should read it. But Jesus Christ, is it fucked up? And yeah. Oh,
good
man.
Story. Good 90s point-and-click adventure. Very fucked up.
Yes. I never played the point-and-click adventure, though I have to assume it's not near as fucked up as the story.
Yeah. They got...
Maybe?
They got Harlan Ellison to work on it.
Okay.
And he helped them come up with the expanded backstories for the characters. And he voiced Am.
Ha! Of course they did. Of course he would. He'd be great for that.
Yeah.
He'd be great for that.
I have not played the game front to back, but I've seen clips. And he's real good at it.
Speaking of angry machines. Oh, no. I
Sorry.
that was a good transition, but you fucked me up.
Sorry. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to tease you mildly, because I got something at the con for you.
Ooh.
And what I'm debating is whether or not to send you an image of it now, because I kind of want to see your face. Or whether just to wait and and try and trust you that when I eventually send it there, which I don't know, will probably be for Christmas or something, that you open it on stream.
I could do either. I'm fine with either. What do you prefer? I think it's more fun if I have it here with me. I don't know what it is, but I think it seems more fun.
That's what I'm leaning towards. So this is just a tease that I did get you something.
Okay.
And you already know what kind of stuff I was scoping out while I was over there. Let your mind run wild.
Oh, I will. I will say, this is the last thing, and then we can transition into talking about the show. A friend of mine, she unfortunately had a friend pass away, and so she was at her house going through some of her stuff, and she messaged me. We have a group text going on. She messaged saying, "Oh, I found this bottle opener that looks like a penis that I gave her, and her parents are coming tomorrow, and I don't know what to do with it to get rid of some of her stuff." And I'm like, "I'll take it." So I have downstairs a bottle opener shaped like a wooden penis, and my fiance has no idea what to do with it.
I feel like I need to put together a living will that includes explicit instructions of what to do with what folders on my computer.
Do not open this one, just delete.
Delete, do not open. Yeah. Or like if you are a member of my family, do not open. If you're somebody else, whatever, dude, I don't give a damn. But like for your sake.
Yes. Well, speaking of deleting things, I had a good one. Angry Machines was good, Vera. It was very good. I'm gonna just keep yelling for a little bit longer while I pull up the comments for the other video, because I forgot to have it ready. Break of Rooms is not the name. Well,
the other thing I can mention for anyone who doesn't follow me on various social medias was I got a picture taken with.
Oh yes, I saw it. Yeah.
Katie Sackhoff and Mary McDonnell and Edward James Olmos. I do not think it's fair to say that I met them. I literally just stood next to them and a picture was taken. But I was quite happy with the picture, and
It was a good picture.
Yeah, it was a lovely little experience. It's one of those times where, like, I don't, at this point in my life, I've just lived with it so long, I don't think of myself as tall. But when you put me in a picture when I am notably by like 5 inches plus taller than everyone else in the picture, I am kind of like, damn. The hell.
Yeah, you're like towering over even Edward James Olmos, which
I think
funny.
he was the shortest of the three, actually.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that probably. I mean, Katie Sackhoff and why am I blank? Mary McDowell. They give off tall vibes.
They do. They bring tall energy for sure.
All right. Well, we are going to be talking about the episode Scar from Battlestar Galactica. Before then, let us look at some of the comments from the episode Black Market. So a lot of people were talking about whether or not junior high school counts as 6th to 8th grade.
Yeah,
or
boy,
is it 7th and 8th grade.
That spawned so many comments.
I know. Like, for example, Sir Jedi Sentinel says, Jesse, my school juristic kind of did it weird. In location redacted, 6th grade is still considered elementary school, and then 9th was technically high school, but the 9th grade classes were still hosted in the middle school buildings. Which is fascinating.
It seems to be a really regional thing. Although, here's a weird thing.
Yes.
At the high school that my kid's now going to, they don't call freshmen. They call freshmen 9th grade, but they still call everything else sophomore, junior, senior.
Strange.
I don't know if it was like to reduce bullying, because like it's the freshman does kind of mark you out as a target, but like I don't know. It's weird. It's 9th grade, weird. Sophomore, junior, senior. Like, what?
Yeah. Huh. All right. Well, Romler says, like the Adama Rosling kiss, the stuff with Lee and Dee is another one where Ron Moore isn't entirely to blame, though he did ultimately make the decision to portray it this way. There were a whole bunch of scenes across all of Season 2 showing a growing attraction between them, which all ended up being cut, and finally Moore just decided, screw it, let's just go straight to this level so we'll have time to play it out over the rest of the season.
The idea of building them up at all, whether you were doing it across multiple scenes that you ended up cutting or you did it all at once, it's still the same stupid fucking idea.
The Bitter Fig 9903 says, for worst, I think a lot of folks will describe the goofy episodes as bad and worst. Trek examples being Move Along Home, or Crusher's Sex Ghost Candle, or Janeway and Paris Salamanders, as if the cardinal sin is being unserious. Personally, I think episodes like that aren't the best, but can be fun in the right mood. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, because I enjoy a lot of those episodes that you mentioned. Like, they're bad episodes of Star Trek, but I like them, but they are generally considered to be the worst of their series.
Yeah, I think that's the same metric by which a lot of people... I don't know if anyone still claims this, but for a long time, Love and Monsters was considered the worst episode of the revived Doctor Who. I think on that exact same basis.
Yes, which again, it's not a great episode, but you can get into it at a certain time. Yeah.
Going back and rewatching it, which I have done, like I have gained an appreciation for what it's trying to do. It doesn't work, but I see how they got there.
Yes. Well, I unironically, well, I mean, maybe I guess ironically, like the Sex Ghost Candle or the Salamanders in Voyager and Next Generation. Like, they're, again, bad episodes, but they're fun in, like, you get high or whatever, get drunk and watch them. They're a good time, you know? Same thing with Spock's brain in the original series. Brain and brain, what is brain?
I mean, like, I think part of the reason maybe I go softer on Love and Monsters, especially these days, is I am now friends with the, because if you don't know, the Absorbaloff was designed by a kid who won a contest.
Yes, I do know that.
He's an adult and a YouTuber now, and I'm friends with him. So
oh, cute. That's fun.
Channel Pup, if you've ever seen his stuff.
Oh, Channel Pup did that?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I watch Channel Pup, like, you know, not regularly, but I watch his stuff regularly, or like on and off. So
yeah. He designed the Absorbaloff.
That's fun. That's fun. I like that. I like knowing that. I wish I had known that before.
Yeah, lovely fellow. We met because he had me do a villain voice for his. I think he was still a student at the time. Either student or fan film Spider-Man thing. Like, I didn't appear. He's in the UK, but he had me voice the chameleon because it could just be a voice coming out of somebody else.
That's fun. That's cute. Well, let us get into our recap of the episode Scar. Sadly, not Scar from The Lion King, which would have made for an interesting villain in Battlestar Galactica.
Surrounded by idiots.
All right. Well, we start off our episode with Kat and Starbuck flying two Vipers, notably two new Vipers from the Pegasus, not like the older Vipers, which was kind of fun to notice. We get a kind of reference to that as well later on.
It's not a super. You do have to kind of keep your eye out for that. It does it gets pointed out, but there isn't a long lingering shot or a comparison with the older one. So you do have to kind of do a little bit of a spot the difference game.
Mm-hmm. But it is nice they're updating their tech.
Yeah.
But yes, they're out with their Vipers, looking. They're basically patrolling, as we'll later learn, a colonial mining ship that's sort of digging for ore. Kat is asking about the name of Riley's girlfriend, a pilot who we'll learn in a minute died, and keeps trying to remember who it is. And Starbuck is kind of annoyed that she keeps asking, and they're both on the lookout for a raider that they have nicknamed Scar. So,
yep.
Then we jump back to, I think, 79 hours earlier.
94 hours early. Jesus Christ.
As soon as I saw that, I knew you were gonna be annoyed.
God damn, just fucking stop!
They like to do their flash forwards. It's slightly better integrated in this episode, but not by much.
A little, but I don't even know what to say anymore at this point. They just keep fucking doing it, and I've already explained why this annoys me.
I think they do it just to spite you. They knew, in the past, there's going to be some weirdo YouTuber who's going to do a podcast about this show.
At least the last time it happened, there had been a buffer of one episode between when it had happened and again. This time it was literally last episode. And they did it. And they made it longer. Last time it was 48 hours. Now it's 94 hours. It feels like I feel attacked. This feels personal.
Yeah.
No breathing room, and now it's even longer, bitch.
And they've done this before, the same exact structure before with Starbuck, way back when on the first Raider episode when she falls into the gravity well of that gas giant or whatever, the moon of that gas giant.
Oh crap! You're right.
It was the same exact structure. So they've been doing this for a while.
I know.
Anyways,
they think it's clever.
Anyways, we cut back to 94 hours earlier, and we learn that Riley was a pilot who just died because he turned and ran from Scar. He, gave the toaster a shot up his ass, as they say.
Scar is basically our equivalent of the Red Baron.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much exactly. But then Kat keeps asking again about Riley's girlfriend's name. There's a picture and she's trying to remember. Starbuck is kind of being an asshole about it again. But then two new Viper pilots named, I believe, BB and Duck, I think was the other one.
There's a few new ones who show up throughout. I kept losing track of who was who.
Yes, I believe these two are JoJo and Duck. But two new Viper pilots that come in, and they start getting teased by the other Viper pilots about you're gonna get killed like Bino, who was one other pilot got killed by Scar. He's gonna smoke you, and they sort of build the mythology of Scar, he's the deadliest Raptor pilot. Lots of pilots have died
Raider.
going after Raider pilot.
You've done that before.
Deadliest whatever. Deadliest Raider. Lots of people have died going after them. And they asked, why do they call him Scar? And they said, you'll learn in a little bit. So yes, again, the equivalent of the Red Baron.
Yeah.
So back in the present, I'll call it, Kat sees something behind a asteroid and goes after it and sort of ribs Starbuck while doing so, saying there was a time when you would have noticed that before me. And they both sort of take off after around this asteroid. But then we cut back to 88 hours ago, And she's explaining to a bunch of the pilots, sort of giving a presentation about Scar. He likes to hide behind what looks like harmless rocks. He doesn't like to fight until the odds are on his side. Excuse me, sorry, I made a mistake. This is actually not in the presentation room. This is when they're all drinking in the sort of like lounge area that they usually drink and play poker in. But Starbuck says, someone says, well, I think Scar's a coward for waiting until the moment to like get people while their backs are turned. And Starbuck says, no, this is not dueling pistols at dawn. You never want to enter into a fair fight because this is war. Scar understands that. So do I. That's why I'm going to kill him. But Kat starts calling out Starbuck, says, oh, you're going to be the one to kill him? You can barely walk. Where Starbuck throws it back in her face, is like, well, at least I'm not a stim junkie. Like you, referring to Kat having taken stims and crashed her Viper a few episodes ago.
Yep. And at this point, we've gotten into that weird, awkward thing where they never properly established this, but clearly by this point, all other conversation in the room has stopped, because every time one of them snipes at the other one, you hear the whole room go, ooh, like it's the freaking high school cafeteria.
Yeah, it's very, very funny.
Also, tiny note, nice German beer stein, Starbuck.
I know.
Look, I'm trying not to get hung up on the little stuff, and this isn't specifically a Battlestar Galactica problem, but it's a thing I'm really starting to notice in sci-fi things that theoretically do not have direct ties to Earth cultures that we are familiar with, or at least not as we are familiar with them, and yet really culturally specific things that have no business showing up show up.
Well, you're just assuming there's no ties to Earth.
No, I actually am assuming there are ties to Earth, but I have a hard time wrapping my head around the idea that it is
the beer stein.
That it is a legit German beer stein, that I'm going to be able to track that back and have it make any goddamn sense.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, yes, Starbuck has a beer stein. That is basically like the Top Gun, like whoever's the best pilot gets this thing, essentially. And Kat makes a bet saying, I'm betting you $200, whatever the money is, credits, that I'll be the one.
Dues.
Yeah, dollar dues. That I'll be the one to kill Scar. And if I do, you'll also not only hand over the beer stein to me, but you have to pour me my first drink from it. And Starbuck says, oh, well, your lips will never touch this thing. And they kind of have that rivalry going. But then Kat leaves, but Starbuck keeps drinking even more. Lee tells her maybe you should slow down, but she runs across the tables and crashes out on the floor. And we get a bunch of flashes as she's lying on the floor of her partying even more, drunk, like people drinking out of her belly button and all that shit. And then also her having flashback to Anders back on Caprica. So yep. She's sad about Anders for some reason.
So I think I'm just going to note it now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mixed on this rivalry thing they have between Kat and Starbuck in this. It's not that I don't buy it. I buy it. Maybe part of the problem is it is very rote Top Gun. Like I can plot out the check marks for exactly how this rivalry arc goes, and it follows it to the letter. Maybe that's part of the problem. But also because since other than like Kat freaking out from having been caught with stims, these two haven't had a lot of interactions in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so this calling it forced seems like a slightly too harsh term, but it does feel condensed. It does feel like we've taken like 4 or 5 episodes worth of building escalation and crammed it into one episode.
I think what it needed for me, and I don't disagree with you. For me, I don't mind it. Yeah, yes, the arc is fairly, standard. I actually don't hate it. I actually like their rivalry chemistry in this episode. I think there's some stuff that I like.
I don't hate it. There's a reason I said I'm mixed. I'm not over the moon about it, but I don't hate it. Let's be clear on that.
Okay. But just to say, I think I'm probably a little bit more positive on you than you are. But that being said, I do agree in the sense that I think what it needed is maybe somewhere in the past, like 4, 5, 6 episodes it to have just come up, like just Kat like sniping at Starbuck at some point, or like just a reminder of it, just to see that it's still there, because they have had some interactions in the past that have been kind of hinting at this kind of relationship right from when Kat showed up as like a new pilot way back in season 1. So it's not like out of nowhere, but it has not been present for a while, and then I think it just needed a reminder so it wasn't like coming back full force and seems like it's a little out of nowhere here, I think is my kind of feeling on it.
Yeah, like I don't think we've seen the two of them like really have much in the way of meaningful interaction since Final Cut, which was like 5 or 6 episodes ago.
Yeah, and I think it needed to be like like in Black Market or something, like have her say something, or in Pegasus, like just something. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
like I'm not necessarily going to say they do this directly, but it does kind of feel like they are leaning on the previously on Battlestar Galactica to serve as the reminder rather than, string the actual story along.
I feel like this show is needing the James Gunn sort of thing that he did with Peacemaker, where it's just like add some random scenes in the previously on that didn't actually happen to be like, oh yeah, if you just remember that, then this works much better.
You know what would have been the perfect show to do it with would have been Legion, but I would really love for a showrunner to like start to use the previously on as a means of messing with the audience. Like not major changes, but just like little things. Alternate take from what was in the thing, slightly different line. Wait a minute, was that in there? I feel like I remember it. And
that would be very fun.
I think something like Legion, which does deliberately mess with your head, would have been the perfect kind of thing to do that with.
Yeah. Oh. Now I want to write a show just to do that. Make a whole show just to do that thing. Anyways, we then cut back to the present. Kat sees what she thinks is Scar and starts going after it, trying to shoot it. But turns out it wasn't actually Scar. Scar was hiding still, and as Kat and Starbuck race after this other raider, he goes after them from behind.
Yeah, we have a long menacing shot of the the red,
and he's got a big old scar on his face.
Yep.
We have the opening credits, and then we come back to this very scene. And Starbuck gets the feeling that something is wrong, that this can't be Scar, so she turns around to check their tail. And there's this, I actually think it was like a cool shot where like she's staring into the sun in the sector, and she tries to put her thumb over the sun so she can get a better look. And right when she does so, Scar like comes zooming at her and starts shooting at her. No, it was a very cool shot.
It was a good shot.
Yeah. But then we cut back to however many hours earlier. And we have Kat is studying Beano's footage of him getting attacked by Scar, and she reiterates this same thing is like where he went wrong. If he hadn't fixated on his one target that he had, he would have noticed Scar coming at him.
See, the thing is, like, she says that, but I actually really appreciate that we have this footage, like, view of the cockpit, like, of what it looked like from outside the cockpit, because she literally has to slow this thing down frame by frame and point to this little thing in the corner. But when it was playing at normal speed, it is shaking all over the place. It is spinning because they don't have to deal with standard gravity. Mm-hmm. And it really does kind of emphasize how disorienting, and this will get, some more highlight with a thing that happens later, but how it shows you directly how disorienting what they do is. And the idea that she's kind of chastising a dead guy for failing to notice 2 frames worth of a ship down in the corner when your entire view is spinning 180 degrees and then rotating the other 180 in the course of 3 seconds.
Yes. Yeah. I credit to any pilot who does that sort of work, but
like all the props to anyone who can do that, but like it really does feel like, really? He was supposed to notice that?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. If that's the expectation, I'm surprised any of them are still alive.
Kat also continues to have a little bit of bravado, saying this is the mother fracker that I'm going to kill. But then we cut to the bridge of the Galactica, where Roslyn is talking to both Ty and Adama. And she basically explains that the mining ship that's mining the area has broken another drill bit, which means they have to stay another 8 days. But they've discovered a rich vein of ore enough to build 2 entire squadrons of Vipers over on the Pegasus, and which has just turned out new combat-ready Vipers. So they can't just walk away from that. So.
Yeah, although, Ty points out, okay, you're going to replenish the fleet. What about the pilots?
Mm-hmm. You're going to lose all the pilots. Yep.
Which, I don't think that Roslyn's necessarily doing the wrong move, but I am glad somebody said it.
Yes, it is worth reiterating, and it thematically is a point that will come back up later on too. So,
yep.
We then cut to Starbuck giving a briefing on their mission, which is they basically have to protect this mining ship. The rest of the fleet has gone away with the Pegasus, so it's just the mining ship and the Galactica here to try and protect it. Dratus doesn't work in the area, so they have to use their eyeballs, and they have to cover a huge perimeter patrolling the area in divisions of what Starbuck says is 4, but then Kat points out that it's 2, which Starbuck initially takes to be insubordination, saying, hey, you're going to plan my ops for me, but then Kat points out, no, that's what the briefing says. And Starbuck realized, oh, yeah, she's like, okay, we go in 2s. She corrects herself, but it was clearly a mistake that she missed. And she reiterates that Scar and his buddies are out there looking for easy kills.
Yep.
We get back up to the bridge with Roslyn, and she says this operation is vital for the long-term health of the fleet. Ty doesn't like it, but Adama says we'll continue to support it. They're coming at us en masse. Sort of Roslyn wonders if this is because they blew up the resurrection ship. Why they're
they're not coming en masse.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant, yes.
Because they're wondering, they used to just throw raiders at whole squadrons of raiders at us, and they don't anymore. They're using hit and run tactics. So yeah, there is the question in the air, is that because the resurrection ship's gone? Mm-hmm. Which we will get a fairly immediate answer to.
Yes, because Starbuck is talking to Toomer, who's explaining a little bit more about the Raiders, and Scar, saying the Raiders actually reincarnate just like the human models do. And that maybe she's even faced Scar before, and that it's a trained animal with basic consciousness and survival instinct, and that they're not going to mount mass attacks right now when they could have mass casualties. And she points out, part of the good thing about having Raiders also resurrect is that it takes months for humans to train a Viper pilot, and then they get killed, and all of their memories and all of their skills are gone forever. So if you could bring them back and put them in a new body, wouldn't you do that? Because then death becomes a learning experience. So.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is my favorite scene out of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Easily. Yeah.
For a number of reasons. One, I don't remember the last time we saw Starbuck talking with Toomer at all, much less having this kind of one-on-one interaction with her. And it is doing what I'm kind of missing from the show right now, which is to get some more into the big ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've just kind of the last few episodes, and also admittedly a fair amount of this one, dealing with individual characters' bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm missing the big weird ideas, and so I really appreciated this being brought back, because I think I, like Starbuck, like probably most of the audience, had kind of assumed that the Resurrections was just for the ones who looked like people. And the show itself kind of directs you that way, because when they could, before they blew the resurrection ship up, you could see people in there, so you wouldn't necessarily think it's these other things. But yeah, and it's especially interesting given that even Toomer doesn't describe a particularly high degree of intellect and higher thought to these things. She refers to it as having an animalistic intelligence, but even something like that, if it is skilled enough and well trained enough, you still don't want to just let it go.
Mm-hmm. And also says that it's full of rage, and its death is a painful experience. So every time he's reborn, he's filled with bitter memories and probably hates you as much as you hate him.
Which is another thing I like, because one of the aspects of immortal or immortal adjacent characters is the question of the thing that things tend to linger on is the loneliness, because you see everyone else you die, yeah, okay, we've explored that nonsense. I think a far more interesting question that not as many things are willing to deal with is dying but not dying is probably really freaking traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what Sharon is saying, like flat out, like this thing is dangerous, partially because it's angry, because it keeps getting killed, and that super sucks. Like as an experience, that is a horrible thing to go through, and then it comes back and does it again. And there's also a moment that I really, really like.
Yes, that's what I'm going to get to.
So there's a moment towards the tail end of the conversation where I forget what it was that she was saying, but Sharon kind of leans forward like she's gonna like put a hand on Starbucks or anything, and you suddenly hear it so loud, the guns cock of the two guards in the room, and she leans back. Now, part of what I love about this is that the guards were established. There was, an early on a shot with like the two of them being there in the room, so Starbucks isn't there by herself. But after that establishing shot, it was all close up, back and forth between the two. And you forget that they're there until she moves a little too close to Starbuck, and suddenly that cocking of the guns was so loud.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was really good. It was so jarring to be reminded of what the dynamic in this room actually is.
Yes. And there's also a good moment, too, where they're talking and Toomer says something along the lines of, how many pilots have we lost? I mean, you lost, like corrects herself. And Starbuck sort of catches that and then says, like, there are times when I look at you and I forget what you are. All I see is that kid that, messed up her landings day after day and was fracking the chief and thinking she was getting away with it. And then Toomer says, yeah, I remember you were like a big sister. And that's when she reaches out. And that's when the gun cock happens.
And, like, she's got tears in her eyes when she says that. Toomer does.
Yeah. So you can, again, is it manipulation? Is it earnest? That sort of thing. So.
Is it a combination of the two? Is she programmed to lean on people's emotions like this, whether she wants to or not? Like, is she programmed to do this to get close to people, and the feelings she has are very sincere, but the fact that she's doing it isn't really a choice? Yeah. And I don't know if that's the case, but I like that I'm asking these questions again because I miss asking these questions.
Yep. I just want to get to season 3. If you like this shit, you will. Season 3 is where
again, like the rivalry and the Top Gun shit that they're doing, it's fine. But like this right here, this scene is what I am latching onto right now. I'm like, give me more of this, please.
Believe me, if you want more of that, just get to season 3. It's why I love that season. It gets into the weirder shit. Good. Season 3 is where it gets the weirder shit, which is why it's what I remember the show for, and I just want to get to it so fucking badly. Anyways, we still haven't met my favorite fucking character, and if you want weird shit, you'll get it. Anyways, yes, so Starbuck, we can cut to Starbuck with a bunch of the Viper pilots training in a gyroscopic thing that basically is there to sort of train the pilots to like deal with spin. And like the Vipers having to turn really quickly. So they basically blindfold these guys, spin them really quickly, take off the blindfold, and they have them shoot at a target. They're doing it with some of the younger new recruits who are very bad at it.
Yeah,
and then
the first I forget the name of the one who tried it, but like
I think it's Duck.
Yeah, it's Duck. They take the blindfold off him and they hand him a gun, and his aim goes so wide initially they're all like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he then gets complimented for one of his shots hitting the target paper at all.
At all.
Not anywhere within the actual range of where he's supposed to hit, but he did hit the upper corner of the paper. And that was impressive.
Yes. But then the rivalry stuff comes back up because they ask like who got the best score on this, and Starbuck says it was her with 4 hits in the X ring, sort of right at the Silent's head. Kat then says, "Oh, let me try it for old time's sake," and she does it, and she gets 5 hits.
Yeah.
So, Kat's knocking at her heels, whatever the term is. You know what I'm trying to say.
Gunning for her position.
There we go. Anyways,
They're
back
knocking
in the
boots. No, wait, not that.
not that one. Though I wouldn't be against it. Anyways,
I'd be more in favor of it than other shit that's gonna.
yeah, we'll get.
Anyway,
We'll get there. Cut to the present again. Kat has lost visual on Starbuck. Starbuck decides to go after Scar on her own and says, "I will put you down for good this time." So she's going off on her own. Jump back to 42 hours earlier. Starbuck is doing lifts with Hilo in the gym. And, they start talking. He says, "Why are you pushing so hard? Kat is just trying to make her bones like you were before you met Anders." And then asks her, like, "Do you ever think about Anders?" And she says, "Oh, he's dead. And Hilo points out, as if you didn't think you had a chance to survive, why did you promise a rescue party? And Starbuck says, "I don't really know what I thought."
So this is our first hint that because she has been told they're not going back to Caprica, she has kind of decided in her head that means he's dead. And, of course, the reality is she doesn't know if he's dead, but if she can't go back and get him, her deciding that he it's a coping mechanism.
Makes it easier to just be like, well, he's dead, so it's okay that I don't go back to get him.
Yeah.
So, but it's clearly fucking with her a little bit.
I'd say a fair bit.
But then we have Starbuck in the locker room, and one of the younger pilots, I think Jojo is his name, basically is kind of nervous and comes up to her and says, "Hey, well, if Scar's out there, what do I do?" And Starbuck basically just sort of gets kind of stern with him and says, "They've drilled this into you over and over again. Scar's no different than any other attacker. You turn into him, get closer, and pull the trigger. Don't run or you'll die." But Kat overhears all of this, and she kind of pulls him aside afterwards and says, "Hey, listen to me. You're with Duck. He's one of our best pilots. Do what he says, and you'll be fine." And kind of reassures him in a more gentler way. And then Kat goes and confronts Starbuck, and he says, "That kid need more than a pat on the ass and textbook quotes about tactics." And Starbuck says, "I don't want to be their wet nurse. Either I fly him or I ground him, and we go up short. So what do you think we should do?" And just kind of throwing it back in her face. And Kat sort of says nothing, and Starbuck walks away.
Yeah, and I mean, this is sort of bringing up a problem that hasn't been touched on in a while, but has been established, which is they are down to so few pilots. Doesn't matter if somebody's not ready or if somebody needs more rest. The alternative is you literally have fewer people in the air than you need.
Yep. But it is also Starbucks not willing. She's not exactly a very encouraging mentor.
No. She's. I'm just there was something Yahtzee Croshaw said once. I forget exactly what this was in reference to, but he said something like, I'm kind of like the heartless owner of a uranium mine. I'm not going to bother to learn any of the miners' names unless they survive a few shifts first.
Yeah, kind of dark but true. Well, we'll get there because that actually does become a plot point.
Yep.
So, we then have up on the bridge, and I really like how this is done. We have Ty and Adama listening in over the radio, as Lee is also listening over the radio. And we basically hear that BB and Duck run into Scar. And Duck says, "Hey, we don't have enough fuel. We should just get out of there. We have a bit of a head start to get away from him." And BB, acting on advice and clearly panicking from Starbuck, says, "No, we have to turn into attack." And Lee sort of says to himself, as he's listening, he's like, "No, this is the exception. You go back. Everyone's out of range. No one can help you." But then he just sort of listens as Starbuck says, "She's coming. I'm coming right now, but she's too far out." And BB dies, gets killed by Scar.
Yep.
I just wanted to. I just really like how this has happened a couple times before, but I just really like Lee sort of like, he's not even like, screaming or anything. He just sort of is just like saying it to himself, like as if he's trying to save it to BB.
Well, yeah, he's not even in the CIC. I forget where he is exactly, but he's just in another part of the ship that has access to the comms. So, yeah, he's kind of in a room by himself,
talking it out. It was very well done. So.
Yeah, and also in general, I think the show does a pretty good job of budget conservation, of minimizing how many space dogfights they have to render by portraying some of them through the radio chatter. It's a solid workaround if you can do it well, and I think they do for the most part.
Well, we have the Raptors come back in after BB's death. Starbuck come back in, and the chief basically says to Starbuck, there's nothing you could do. He was too far away. But then Kat comes up to Starbuck and confronts her and says, kind of blames Starbuck for what happened. He did exactly what you told him, and he got him killed. And Starbuck says, 99% of the time, that is the right move. You know that. And Kat says, well, not this time. So.
Which, Kat is the asshole in this situation, because it takes experience to be able to know that 1% of the time that you don't do the thing that the textbook says you should do. That is something that is learned through time and skill and it becoming second nature. And the kid didn't have the time. That's not Starbuck's fault. You can't even necessarily say she gave him bad advice. You could say she was too cold to him, but this is Kat. This is part of what I mean by how much they have to ratchet up the rivalry. It was moments like this and another one later with the degree to which she gets in Starbucks' face over it. I'm like, hey.
I agree with you. Kat is the asshole in this situation. It doesn't feel like it's ratcheted up to me. I mean, they just lost a kid. And also Kat has already gotten, has been rubbing up against Starbuck, and, literally it's relevant to the situation. So, that is somewhat contrived in terms of, the immediately after she gives him the advice, he dies because of it. But, I think this scene works for me as, Kat would say this. It doesn't mean Kat's right, but it reads, especially given the heightened emotion of the situation, like a true thing that Kat would say.
It's not that I don't believe she'd say it. It's just I think it's because it's just the next check mark on the rivalry plot line.
I guess. I mean, maybe, yeah. It is, yes.
Here's the thing. There are other aspects of this episode that are going to tie into this. So here's the funny thing. You mentioned that this was an episode that you had, more or less by itself.
Yeah,
you rewatched it a lot. Funny thing is, I think this is an episode that works better in isolation than it does as part of the season. Because between this and, knowing that Starbuck and Kat haven't done a lot together in a while, and some other stuff that's going to come up in a minute or two, where I'm like, if I was watching this episode in pure isolation and didn't know about nonsense that had happened just an episode or two ago, this would be playing better than it is now. Yes. With me being aware of what has been going on recently. So it's kind of funny that this was one that you singled out as one that you've seen a lot, because I really feel like it bolsters the episode, taking it out of the context of the season.
Yeah, I don't even disagree with that. I think this is a very good spoilers for my overall thoughts on the episode to a degree, but it is an episode that I think this is the section of Battlestar Galactica that Ron Moore admitted they were just doing one-offs because they didn't really know what to do next until they got to what they're going to do at the end of the season, which I won't spoil. So this just whole run of episodes is a bunch of little one-off things. And I think this episode works really, really well as a standalone, doing its own thing episode that's sort of removed from the greater arc of the show. But yes, within the context of the larger sort of running arc of the show, I think it does sort of stand out more how much this whole plot line is kind of a little bit forced to get this story. But it works as its own, as a one-off really well.
It is the kind of thing where as an episode that you give someone as to sell them on the show, or as a highlight reel episode, it works really, really well for that.
Yes, yeah.
That's not how I'm watching it, though. So
fair. Well, anyways, we then cut to what was probably your favorite scene of the episode. Well, we'll get there. Where it's Starbuck and Lee sitting, getting drunk together alone in the Vera's already making faces. Sitting alone in the lounge area. It's just the two of them. And Lee sort of is opening up and saying, I know in 2 weeks I won't even remember his face, referring to BB, who just died. I can't remember the faces after they killed. They just fade. Starbuck says, I don't even remember their names. And Lee and her start she's like, there's Flap Top, there was Chuckles, and
Lee starts naming names, and
she starts like spitting out.
She spits booze at him every time he says a name.
Yeah, so like morbid humor.
Yeah, and like this beat, I like this acknowledgement that like, yeah, we just lost somebody, and I'm not gonna remember them in like a week. Mm-hmm. And that's a real solid beat to hit.
Yeah, it's very melancholic, the scene, and Starbuck even says, the president says we're saving humanity for some bright, shiny future on Earth that you and I are never going to see because we're going out there over and over and over again until someday some metal mother fracker is going to catch us on a bad day and just blow us away. And Lee even says, well, bright, shiny futures are overrated anyways. So. Yep.
And then, like, he pours a little bit more of a drink for her, and this was the point at which I wrote in my notes, don't fucking do it.
Well, they do fucking do it. Well, I'll explain this because we'll need to have a talk about it. Yeah, Starbucks says, well, we got to live. That means we got to live for right now. So she starts making out with Lee, and they basically start having sex. But as they're having sex, Starbucks has flashbacks to Anders, and Lee is also not very into it. He's like, hey, calm down, slow down. It's not a race. But then Starbucks, sort of like frustrated with Lee sort of wanting to slow things down, basically says, he goes like, what about us? And she's like, I just wanted a good lay. There is no us. There's nothing between us. And Lee sort of goes back like, well, that's just great. Frak or fight. But then he says like, maybe I'm just a good lay, but I'm also your friend. And then Starbuck opens up and says like, I'm humming a dead guy and it's pissing me off. Referring to Anders, and Lee says, well, like, Lee tries to reach out to her, and she says, I don't want your pity. He says, you haven't got my pity. You're fine with the dead guys. It's the living ones you can't deal with. And then she slaps him, then kisses him, then leaves.
Yeah. So this scene is the epitome of what I mean when I say it works better in isolation than in context. Because in isolation,
I was to say, I didn't hate this.
in isolation, especially Starbuck's side of it, I get it. It makes sense for her as a character and also for what she's going through, not just in this episode, but where she's at in general overall in the show. That having been said, these are the two characters who keep getting fucking paired off every other goddamn episode. We were just dealing with the bullshit with Dee and Lee one fucking episode ago. So, like, within the context of the show, I don't ever want to see either of these motherfuckers kiss anybody ever again, much less each other.
Yeah.
So, this is like the poster child for what I mean when I say it works better in isolation than it does in context. Because in isolation, this scene is totally fine. Good even. And I say that as someone who hates this shit on principle. But in context of what goes on with these two, and even as recently as one episode ago, I'm so fucking sick of this.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree with you. I actually liked the scene. I was prepared to hate it because I'm like, oh god, we're doing the thing. I'm like, but I ended up really liking it. Yes, it does have the stupid D stuff last episode, which we already talked about in the comments, was like stuff that was Ron Moore chose to put in or whatever. But that doesn't even bother me as much because he has no commitment to Dee, and so like he.
Oh, it's not like I think he's cheating on her or anything. It's just like, stop doing this shit with these two. Because like we also had Starbuck and the random Baltar shit out of nowhere, so that like it's always these two.
Yeah, and I mean, how do I explain this? I guess I kind of want to make the argument here. We have been hating on Lee. I actually really like how Lee comes off during this, especially this whole episode. I really like Lee in this episode.
Oddly, last couple episodes, Lee has been on an upward trajectory since he almost died.
Yes,
like as a character, almost dying was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yes, I agree. Because I just like this. I do like this moment where he's like, it would have been, the way Lee had previously been written, he would have, like, when Starbuck starts pushing him away, he probably would have gotten all pissy and been like, well, you don't want to, fuck me or be with me, well, screw you or whatever. But he has this moment where he's like, all right, well, maybe I'm a good lay or whatever, but I'm also your friend. And he does actually try to, like, be there and reach out to Starbuck. And she does, in her own Starbuck kind of bit terrible, can't really be emotionally vulnerable way, does open up about, like, Anders. And he kind of listens to her. And yeah, he confronts her about the, dead guys versus living ones thing. But he's not, he's not doing out of cruelty or to be mean like he did way back in, like, that home episode where he's, like, teasing Starbuck after she came back from Caprica or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Jesus. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. So, like, this is actually him being kind and actually, like, being an adult as a friend. And I liked that, especially when, like, it very could have easily been written for him being all pissy that he didn't get to fuck Starbuck. I don't know. I liked the scene, and I agree with you. In context of the series, yes, it's frustrating, but I actually think it comes off as a really good scene. I really kind of liked it.
Taking the episode in isolation, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the scene, and taking, aside from, like, all of his romantic bullshit, taking Lee's reaction to what goes on in this more or less in isolation, but also keeping in mind where he used to be and how he's been lately. Like, he's on an upswing as a character, and I'm hoping they keep it that way.
Yeah, no, there's a couple other moments. It's smaller stuff, but there's a couple other moments later in this episode too that I actually really like with him as well that we'll get to. Anyways, after Starbuck leaves, Starbuck starts watching footage of a Scar down in the sort of by herself down in the the bay where she gives lectures to all the other pilots. And she's getting drunk, literally completely downs the rest of her liquor, whatever it is, bourbon, whiskey, whatever.
Yeah, so. It's brown liquor, and it's gone now.
Yes, so she is wasted. Back in the present, we have Kat has a visual on Starbuck and is coming, or doesn't have a visual on Starbuck and is trying to race to get to her as she's facing off Scar. But then Starbuck turns around to face Scar and they basically go head to head at each other and start shooting at each other. And Starbuck says, one of us has to break and it's not going to be me. But Kat, screaming over the radio, yells, wake up, he's a machine, he's not going to break.
Yeah. And so I'm going to mention something now just because I don't know if I'll remember to mention it later. This is a moment that we're going to see, I think, 3 times.
Yes, 3 times, yes.
They milk this scene a lot. But in one of them, we will hear Kat say, like, you're committing suicide, which, again, works fine in isolation with the episode. In context, I'm going, wait, Lee had a death wish like 2 episodes ago. Again, like, I don't want to overemphasize it, but I'm just remembering more examples of why I think this is a good episode in a vacuum. And in context, it isn't hitting quite the same.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we cut to 3 hours ago. Starbuck is waking up. And she's back. And then a little bit later, she's out giving another lecture to the Viper pilots. And she's explaining it like Raiders like to split up Vipers so Wingmans can't protect them, which is what we're seeing in the present. Starbuck is already doing with Scar. But then she gets a message saying that's what happened to JoJo 15 seconds ago. So JoJo just also died. So They lost another pilot for exactly that reason. And then Kat, in front of everybody, calls Starbuck out, says, you were the one assigned. Where were you? Was it too early in the morning for you, Starbuck? And says, maybe if you weren't up all night drinking, JoJo would still be here. And so Starbuck says, give us the room. And everyone else but Kat leaves.
Yeah. And the episode doesn't make this point, but I kept it in mind, and I'm going to accept it anyway, because, like, points like this have been made in this episode, which is that, okay, under normal circumstances, Brig, immediately. What the fuck was that? Mm-hmm. She can't afford to do that. She can't really bust her down and ground her when they're losing people rapidly. But she also can't just let what Kat did stand.
Yes. Well, my and it kind of comes up into a thing that'll come up a little bit later. My read on Starbuck is she would never use the brig in something like this.
No,
like she would never rely as someone who's like, yeah, we're gonna like, for lack of a better word, we'll deal with it like men, and we'll like that sort of thinking.
Understand? I'm not necessarily saying that Starbuck herself would have done that, but I am saying that like under normal circumstances, that would have been my criticism of like, don't send, like, this person needs to be dealt with immediately. And that normally would have been my criticism. Under other circumstances, might have been my criticism for Starbuck. Like, why are you not doing more about what she just did, which was question your command to your face in front of fucking rookies who need to have a solid foundation of who's in charge. But I'm not going to criticize her for not doing that. One, because, maybe she wouldn't do it anyways. But also, like, under the circumstances, she can't afford to.
Yeah, I think, for me, I get you on the can't afford to thing. And I think if it was Lee that, like, Kat had said this to, then I think that'd be more interesting. That conversation, I think, would be more prevalent. For me, it's literally, like, I never see, unless it's, like, absolutely necessary, Starbuck ever going, like, go to the brig or whatever. Like, I don't think that's the kind of person that she kind of is. She's like, all right, I'll, as we'll see in a second, I'll punch you before I send you to the brig. You know what I mean? So, just the kind of character she is. Anyways, they start to have an argument, and Starbuck points out, it's like, it admits, like, I put Snake in my position because I was in no position to fly, and I knew that, unlike you, where you can't land the fracking ship, you fly when you can't land the stims thing.
Yeah, for clarity, listeners, because I don't think we really laid this out. Starbuck was supposed to be JoJo's wingman.
Yes,
but because she was hungover, she assigned somebody else to it, and that was Snake.
Yes, and she's admitting here, like, she was hungover, but, like, she chose not to go out, whereas Kat, when she was doing stims, did go out and nearly died as a result.
Yeah, like, she owns that decision. Like, I was in no condition to fly.
Mm-hmm. And Kat says, you're an embarrassment. You used to be the hottest stick in the fleet. Now you're just a reckless drunk. And she says, are you going to hit me, Starbuck? And she says, no, does that scare you? You're afraid most of the time, Kat. You're afraid you're going to end up like Riley's girlfriend, like that forgotten picture no one really remembers. You're riding my ass so hard because so no one will notice that Scar scares the living crap out of you. And then that's when Kat punches her.
Yes.
So, which, interesting back and forth because they both got points. Like, Starbuck should not have been hungover. She should have been out there. But also, like, good on Starbuck for admitting that she couldn't have gone out. Like, it's better.
That's the thing. Like, you shouldn't have gotten drunk, but you did, and therefore you did make the correct decision of not going out on a freaking Viper.
Yes. So yeah, they both have fair points. Dealing with it in very toxically masculine ways, for lack of a better phrase, but, they both have good points. But then, as soon as Kat punches Starbuck, Lee comes in and basically just misses it, but can very clearly tell what's just been going on.
Well, yeah, because Kat's, like, hiding her fist. And
Yes, and Lee looks at Starbuck, and Starbuck doesn't, give up Kat either, which, again, goes to my point of, like, Starbuck's the kind of person who's like, I'm never going to, like, use authority to, to try and get someone in trouble. I'm just going to deal with it myself. You know what I mean? Lee goes, all right, well, must have been lively. And he can very clearly tell what's going on. But he says, I want you both out there because I want my heavy hitters out there because I think this is where, I have a hunch this is where Scar and the rest of the Raiders are going to try to attack from. And here's the moment that I was referring to later is once Kat leaves, Lee looks at Starbuck and asks, are you okay? It clearly as a friend, which is a small moment because they've been cut out of the scene. But I liked that because he wasn't going to, like, chew either of them out in front of everybody. But then when, as a friend, after that situation sort of, the tension's released, he asked her if she's doing okay.
Yes.
Like, I actually, again, it speaks well of Lee as growing as an adult of, like, checking on his friend's well-being outside of, like, the auspices of his role as their, like, CAG. So, just these small bits were like, okay, Lee's actually turning out to not be a douche.
Hey, you love to see it.
You do. We get a quick little beat with Starbuck and Kat getting ready. Kat also goes to the wall of dead people, the remembrance wall that we see from time to time, and puts up a picture of Riley's girlfriend on the wall.
I couldn't tell from the dialogue. I had a hard time parsing whether or not she's also alive or whether she was somebody from Caprica.
Presumably based on the fact that Kat puts the picture up on the wall that she's I would assume she's dead and on Caprica died on Caprica. That would be my presumption.
Yeah, which I don't know, strikes me as a little morbid. You're carrying around the picture of your dead girlfriend, however much longer later. But then again, like, I'm a heartless bitch, so
I know
don't take my perspective on that.
I don't know. I feel like if we suddenly all got murdered by machines right now in a mass human genocide and I was in a spaceship for forever and all I could do was masturbate, I'd hold a picture of my fiance.
You waited until I was drinking
to
say that.
I wasn't going to say it, but then you started drinking. I almost made her spit out her water, people. Anyways.
You suck.
I'm just saying, I wonder if Kat had to, really unstick that photo to get it on the wall. Anyways, you're welcome, listeners, for that.
Well, dude, just stick it up on the remembers wall. You don't even need tape.
You don't. It just goes right up there. Anyways, we then have a complete reiteration of all of the flashbacks that we've been getting, or flash forwards, I guess I should say, throughout the rest of the episode. Basically watch a condensed version of everything. And we cut back to Starbuck not breaking. We then cut to a commercial break, and then we come back to that same scene and see it again.
Which is why I said we see this 3 times.
Yes. Which is very noticeable. Anyways, as Starbuck is heading right at Scar and not breaking, she has more flashbacks to Anders, and we get the reiteration of the moment where Starbuck promised to come back for Anders, saying, I said it and I meant it. So then Starbuck breaks, and she says to Kat, I'm going to put Scar right in front of you, don't miss him. And so as they sort of run perpendicular to each other because she's in an asteroid, essentially. And when Starbuck goes out past the rim of the asteroid, Scar is facing her and misses Kat coming at a perpendicular angle, who shoots and kills Scar.
Yep.
So,
And initially, like, blows off one of his wings, and it's gooey.
Yeah, and like he crashes on another like asteroid rock, and like you see all the blood. I like that every time they blow up a raider, they make a point to show all the guts inside of it. It's nice.
Yep.
So
although like they cut back to the asteroid and it's like still burning, and I'm like, there's no oxygen in that environment. Like I'll grant there was a little in the ship, so there's a brief fire, but there's no way that's still burning.
Okay. I had this point. I had a conversation about this because this was a whole fucking thing with Star Wars: The Acolyte. If listeners do not remember, one of the big things that like the Grifter Brigade was all pissy about with Star Wars: The Acolyte is in, I think, the pilot episode, one of the characters is like fixing a thing on the side of the ship, but they're kind of in space near the atmosphere of a planet, and there's a fire on the outside of the ship that she has to like deal with or whatever. It causes her a flashback, and everyone got all angry. It's like, there's no fire in space. I checked with my friend, who is an astrophysicist, Dr. Aaron McDonald. If there is gas coming out of the ship, like at a regular amount, there could still be fire in the ship.
Which works for the Acolyte, but here it is scrap. Like the thing has been completely blown apart. So it's not like there's a flaming wreckage. It breaks.
Well, I thought there was like a piece
outcropping of the asteroid.
Well, I thought there was
outcropping that has nothing but the guts left on it is still burning.
I thought there was a piece of metal that it was coming out of.
I didn't think so. At least I don't know. Maybe it was. I didn't.
I thought maybe I'll go back. I thought there was a piece of metal that was like on fire, which presumably there might have been some gas still in the metal that was leaking out, causing the fire.
I mean, my question in that case is, so like comparing the ship from the Acolyte, that was significantly larger than a Raider.
Yes.
My argument would be, okay, and this is why I said it would burn briefly, but not as long as this shot, because this isn't like a continuous shot. They like break away, the shot goes back, and it's still burning. I'm like, that's gone by now.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. Fuck you, Vera. I hate you.
Don't worry. This will get uploaded, and then everyone in the fucking comments will agree with you anyways. So
no, I think you're.
What's it matter? It's gonna be the goddamn oxygen all over again.
I actually think you're correct on this one. I'll give you. I was playing devil's advocate. The oxygen one I will still stand by, but this one I think you're correct. Anyways, we then cut to back in the lounge area. Everyone is celebrating the death of Scar. Kat is standing up on a table and she sort of yells out, and I should say Ty and Adama are also there celebrating as well. And Kat sort of says, "My cup runneth dry." Someone, I seem to remember someone saying my lips would never touch this rim, sort of basically jokingly getting Starbuck to come and pour her drink, like humiliating Starbuck just in a jokey way. Starbuck grabs a bottle. It seems very tense, like, what's she gonna do?
So,
but then
can we hold on this for a second? Because there's the weirdest goddamn edit. Mm-hmm. There's the weirdest fucking cut. Starbuck goes for this bottle and reaches for it, hand sort of flipped around, like she's gonna grab it by the neck and like wield it like a weapon. But then the next shot, which is immediately temporally continuous and is also focused on the bottle and her hands like this.
Which for listeners is a completely different way.
Yeah, it is now flipped around and holding it in a position where you would pour it from, as opposed to flip the bottle around and wield it like a weapon. It is literally back to back. There is no intermediate shot. There isn't even like something crosses in front of the image. And it wouldn't bother me except the camera's focused on the bottle. Why would you put together two cuts where the
just put a reaction shot of Kat or Adama or someone.
Yeah, insert something to break that up, because my immediate thought, because I noticed right away she went to grab it in this way that would make me think, well, that's how you grab it if you're going to use it as a weapon. I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen? But then the immediate shot with no break in between, she's holding it the other way. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was weird.
Like, that's just an editing fuck up.
Anyways, Starbuck walks up to Kat, and you don't know what's going to happen, but she starts to pour the bottle in. She pours the entire drink in, and even says to Kat, "You earned it." Which actually Kat seems not moved by, but sort of like, takes that in. And then Starbuck turns around, raises her glass, and then says, then she says and then names every single pilot that she can remember. So,
and like not just the ones that have died this episode, not even just the ones that
like
Lee named, but like going back to ones who died in the first season. Some names that I didn't even remember hearing before.
Crashdown was in there as well.
Yeah, and Crashdown was in there.
Yeah. And then Lee stands up and says to all of them. And then Adama sort of says, "So say we all," and they all clap.
And everybody clapped.
Yes. Adama really loves his catchphrase. Like, "Oh, it's a good time. I can use it. So say we all." Get the thing.
He goes home and writes down in his diary, "I got to say it today."
Yes. I will say I really liked that. I really liked that beat quite a lot.
Yeah, no, it was well delivered, and that felt very, very earned.
Yes, and it leaves open a really interesting question of either A, did Starbuck go back, because she had said earlier, she was the one earlier said I don't even remember their names, so either she went to try to remember them after that scene, or B, she was lying in that scene to seem all tough, like, oh, I don't remember their names. See, I tend to lean on that interpretation. But
I do as well, but it's not to seem tough. She wants to not remember.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's the same reason why she keeps describing Anders as dead. Mm-hmm. It would be easier for her if he was dead. It would be easier for her if she didn't remember their names. That doesn't mean that it's true, but she is trying to behave as if she could just move on and this stuff doesn't stick with her, but it does no matter what she says.
Yes. Trauma sticks with you. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Then we get the one last scene of the episode where Starbuck and Hilo are, training again. They're like doing some boxing. And Starbuck says, "I could have done it. I just needed," and she like explains how she could have been the one to kill Scar, but I probably would have died in the process, she says. "A couple months ago, I wouldn't have thought about that, just taking the glory." And Hilo said, "You did the right thing." And Starbuck points out, well, like, that's not why I did it. I just can't get over this insane hope that maybe Anders is alive. and Hilo points out, "You've got something to live for now, not just die for."
I did gag a little bit at that line. That
yeah, it's a little bit on the nose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little. Yeah. Like the sentiment, great. The line, a little bit brick to the face.
Yeah, it's a little bit like you. I think you've cut out that line. The point still lands, and it's less overt.
I think the point had already been made quite well, but then he might as well have turned to the audience.
And that's the lesson. Not lesson. That's the character arc, folks.
Yeah,
she's got something to live for now.
Yeah, which trust your audience.
Yeah. I will say I did like the last shot of the episode where she jokingly fights him and then he falls to the ground and she kicks him jokingly. It's a very cute moment between the two of them.
Yeah.
Which you don't get to see a lot of cute just friend moments with Starbuck and other characters. So I did enjoy that beat.
Yeah. So when are they going to address the sexual tension between these two now? It's inevitable, going by the trajectory this fucking show does. No, I don't actually think they're going to do that. The show's too monogamous for that, and they've got Hilo all knotted up with
Interesting. You think the show is monogamous? Okay. Oh, if you're worried about monogamy, just wait with this show. Oh, yeah.
If this show develops a polyamorous streak, it will be in contradiction to everything else it has done so far. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, just wait. Oh, man, that's going to be so... I forgot. Man, this and Caprica, both shows. There's some polyamorous stuff in there. In fact, this is where I learned what polyamory was. Anyways, we'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
I'm curious now.
Oh, but now oh no. Well, I'll save this for spoiler minute because I'm going to say something that immediately will set you off, and I don't want to do that. So you're going to
wait for the show to do that for you.
Yes. Well, anyways, anything to say about this team before I do my spoiler minute?
Nah.
I am literally just going to talk about this bit right here. It has nothing to do with the episode whatsoever. All right, for the next 60 seconds, I'm going to talk spoilers about polyamory. So if you do not want spoilers about that, you can jump ahead 60 seconds just like Vera is going to do in real time by taking off her headphones.
And go.
The only thing I just want to mention, I will be curious to see how we talk about the depiction of polyamory in the show, because we do get Baltar's culty polyamorous group, which falls into Byron from Babylon 5 territory in a weird way. So we'll probably have issues with that. But there are ways to do it well. We'll see if the show handles it. But then also Caprica, the main villain of Caprica, also has a polyamorous family that I think is depicted much better in that show. But it also still does have the villain is a polyamorous person element to it. But I think it's a much more nuanced portrayal of polyamory over in that show, which is actually what I like whenever I think about polyamory when I was growing up. I'm like, oh, I thought about Caprica. So there is something to be said about how that show depicts it. We'll get there when we get there as the show goes on, but certainly we'll have conversations about the depiction of polyamory within both this and Caprica. But it was just something worth noting since I brought it up, but I didn't want to spoil Vera. So anyways, what do you think of the episode?
Like I said, honestly, in isolation, it's really good. Mm-hmm. The rivalry is very Top Gun. It is very by the book, but it is executed well. The arc for Starbuck in this is really well handled. It's just that a fair amount of it, in the context of the show as a whole, hits less effectively because I'm stuck thinking things like, we just did a Death Wish thing with Apollo just a few episodes ago. We just did relationship nonsense with Apollo. Now we got this going on. We've already done multiple bits of relationship nonsense with Starbuck. We now got this going. So none of these things, strictly speaking, wreck the episode, but they do, for me at least, make it less impactful than the moments kind of deserve, to be honest. Because as an episode, it is good. And if these things don't bother you, not only is that fine, I'm jealous. because I would love for my brain to not work the way that it does sometimes in terms of what it latches onto that diminishes my enjoyment of what I can otherwise recognize as a solid piece of work.
Yeah, I will say I probably come away a little bit more positive on this, but again, I have the bias of I watched this episode a lot as a kid on its own in isolation, because it was the only episode that I had of Battlestar Galactica that I bought on iTunes for $1.99. So yeah, I watched this episode a whole bunch alongside a bunch of episodes of Scrubs and the Move Along Home episode from Deep Space Nine, which is the random one I bought of that show as well. Completely on accident. I just picked a random episode of Deep Space Nine, bought it, and it turned out to be what everyone considers to be the worst one. But anyways, yes, this is the one that I watched repeatedly, and as a result, I really like this episode quite a lot. Like, I really do think it's one of the stronger episodes of the show, frankly. It is not doing anything particularly wildly new, but it brings Starbuck's arc forward really decently well, showcases how she's changed as a character from season 1. Lee gets some decent show-off moments here, and that's always a positive, thank God. And yeah, I even like how Kat come across in this. Like, she comes across as what Starbuck used to be at the beginning of the series. So yeah, I think this is an overall solid episode. I don't disagree with you, but I'm probably just a bit more positive on it just because I can strip it of its context a little bit more.
Yeah,
so.
I think we probably have about the same assessment in terms of the overall quality of the episode. It's just a question of how well it hit for us on a more subjective level, and I think that's the only real difference.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. I think that makes sense. So you're wrong, and I hate you, and your opinions are bad.
Yeah, I know. There was a review somebody left on the podcast feed on Apple.
Oh,
that
is it I love Vera's opinions and hate Jesse's, or vice versa?
The vice versa one. I'm trying to find it now. It was a 3-star review. There it is. Okay. Jesse Gender's heartfelt and thoughtful approach earns this show 5 stars. Vera Weil being wrong about 50% of the things she says and an obnoxious loudmouth about 100% of the things she says subtracts 2 stars.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Little do you know that was my review.
Oh, no.
No, that really wasn't. That wasn't. I didn't actually do that. But you know,
No,
you are an obnoxious loudmouth. So
I know that, but like, if it took you this far into like our 4th show that we're doing together to realize that, like, I feel like that's a you issue.
Well, I love your loudmouthery. Sure, we'll go with that.
I can do a lot with this mouth, I'm just saying.
It's true. It's very true. Well, that is everything.
You say that in that knowledgeable way that's going to start fucking rumors again.
It really is. It really is. Well, with that said, do you want to start some rumors about your content, Vera?
Sure. So if you want to find more of my stuff, Council of Geeks. Patreon is what pays the bills, and the main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. The most recent video I should have up after this episode comes out is about the fuckery on YouTube right now, with everything appearing to kind of break at once between the AI age verification and the secret restricted mode they didn't tell goddamn anybody about, and a bunch of stuff on the back end that I'm not seeing enough people talk about as well. So YouTube is currently ruining YouTube. So that'll be...
What a shock. A tech company getting shittier.
I know.
Patreon also just changed this whole fucking interface recently, too, because they gotta keep justifying doing shit. It's just like, ugh.
They did, though. Honestly, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but it's just...
It was a pure superficial, like, there was no need to do this kind of change, but, like, it was fine.
It's fine. I've seen much worse changes, but it is that thing of like someone in, development has to justify their job, so they'll be like, all right, we'll change the interface again. You know what I mean?
There's a design department that has to justify their paychecks.
Yes.
That is not their fault. That is capitalism's fault.
Yes, I do not blame them, but yes.
They should be getting residuals for the continued traffic on the site that they designed the first time. That's how it should work, but whatever. But anyways, that'll be the most recent video. And then unless my schedule has changed again, after that, I will be addressing the question of whether or not episodic TV is dead or dying at present. So that is the main channel. There's also Break Room of Geeks, where I talk about whatever I have watched, listened to, played, or read lately. I have, well, at time of recording, I'm mildly behind, but I have been doing my best to keep up with Peacemaker, Alien Earth, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And 2 out of 3 of those I am enjoying.
I wonder which two.
I wonder. But also, you know, that's where I talk about video games or movies. Classic Doctor Who reviews go up there. I do at least one a month. You can also find Council of Geeks on Blue Sky. That's pretty much all the geeky stuff. There is, of course, also the spicy stuff. And for that, you can look for Vera Wild. Wild is spelled W-Y-L-D-E. And you can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube, TikTok.
Yes. Well, you can find me at Jesse Gender. I do video essay style of stuff. A lot of Star Trek stuff coming up in... I have 2 basically done, but I'm trying to finish a 3rd because I wrote them in reverse order of how I want to release them. so the 3rd one's going to be coming up, but I have a Strange New World Season 3 overall review. That'll be very fun. We'll see how that goes. Then a video about why tech billionaires love Star Trek. And then a video about why the Ferengi are the best Star Trek alien. The Ferengi one is already available over on my Patreon, so if you want that video early, you can check that out over there. I'm really, really proud of that one. And you can help support me paying my bills. But if you want to find me elsewhere, I also have Jesse Gender After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions, and I am reviewing all of the same shows that Vera is. So if you don't want the loudmouth version of it, you can come over to me and get the full 5-star experience.
You bitch.
You can also find me on Nebula, which is the streaming service that houses my movie Identities, as well as will house the show Subliminal, which is the series that will be releasing sometime next year. And actually, I'm going to be editing my director's cut next week with the editor. I was just chatting with them earlier today. So huzzah on that front. Also on Blue Sky, Instagram a little bit as well, but Blue Sky is the place where I post the most. That's pretty much it for me. Yeah, anything else, Vera?
Nah, I don't think so.
All right, then with that said, I hope y'all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.